25 million. That is the number of animals used per year for scientific testing, research, and education purposes in the United States alone. This number does not include the number of animals used for consumption either. In this speech, I will be informing the audience of Tom Reagan's writing of the case for animal rights and elaborating on the philosophical standpoints he argues. There are several different approaches Reagan takes throughout his writing. He first argues against the perspective that animals have no rights through the use of contractarianism. Second, he argues through the use of utilitarianism, can animal rights be deemed unworthy with the need for animals as resources, which is not one that he favors. He finally explains the rights view, which is his favorite approach, which argues that there is no moral tolerability for any type of discrimination and no act can be justifiable by that means. The argument that follows contractarianism is the first one that Reagan discusses. First, let's define contractarianism. It's the idea that all human beings sign a contract that has a set of rules to morality. In this sense, we can bring it to the morality of killing somebody. We've all deemed that as morally wrong and morally unjustifiable. Therefore, we have deemed it okay for those who do end up killing somebody to go to jail for life. However, he explains this ruling through the example of adults and their kids. Kids aren't responsible for themselves. They don't have a fully comprehensible mind of what is happening in society and therefore can't sign this contract. So their parents sign it for them as their guardians. With this, we hold no duties to the kids, only duties regarding them. So kids have their schoolwork, they have a few chores, that's their duties. They don't necessarily have any duties regarding to society just of yet until they can fully comprehend what's happening. The same contract that kids aren't able to sign yet, animals aren't either, and that points at leaving them with no rights. However, Reagan argues against this because since the animals can't necessarily sign it, they don't have a right to either be morally justifiable to kill them for resources and vice versa. He opens this paragraph with the concept of the system allows us to view animals as our resources. And the resources that he's alluding to would be for food, clothing, having medical tests run on them, and most oftentimes surgically manipulated and exploited for food or money, which Reagan deems as morally unjustifiable. Continuing on, he notes further beliefs that people believe in. He additionally takes note that people who think this way think that humans have no duties to animals and that we do nothing that wrongs them. However, if that animal were to be a person and could sign these contracts that are made with the use of contractarianism, would it be okay to kill them? No. So why would we kill them in the instance where they can't sign the contract and they can help us for resources? However, why would that dissuade them from having their rights? He uses the example of your neighbor kicking your dog to further elaborate on this concept. This mindset would correspond to the belief that your neighbor didn't hurt your dog, that they hurt yourself since they had a scene as the equivalent of your property. And the two defects of believing that fall under not having the animals have rights and thinking only humans can emote pain. And this also goes back to the contract. Since animals can't sign the contract that is through the use of contractarianism, then why would they be able to emote pain? However, they emote it the same way as humans do. And this is all he really touches on this perspective before dissuading his audience to have more sympathy for the animals. He states that we have a more humane ways to view this matter and brings up ways to help the cause by insisting on changing one's beliefs in order to change their habits, because it all starts with your mentality before you start actually doing stuff. Kind of like going to the gym. You have to have the mentality of I want to get bigger and then start back going into the gym. Same way in this concept. Transitioning into a second philosophical theory, utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is comprehended by two principles, the first being equality, and that everyone's interests count. The second being utility, that we must do the act that will bring about the best balance between satisfaction and frustration for everyone affected for the outcome. He means this by I will elaborate on that in just one moment. This concept creates the feel that no person or animal has more moral value than the other. Keep in mind that utilitarianism results in the best decision for everybody. That being said, killing animals for resources would seem morally accepted by utilitarianism. And he kind of comprehends this. The example that I was referring to is the one with his Aunt Bee. He describes her as an old, inactive, and a cranky, sour person. So why would it not be out of his best interest to kill her to get everything that he is written to get in her will? Through utilitarianism, this would be the moral thing to do. But you can compare Aunt B to the animals. Aunt B doesn't deserve to be killed, just like the animals don't need to be killed to maximize the utility for their resources that they do bring upon us. He then follows suit to disarm this theory as being the one that we are seeking, or the one that we aren't seeking. The morality behind utilitarianism can be seen as morally callous and fails to acknowledge the inherent value that each individual holds, is what Reagan is trying to persuade through bringing up utilitarianism. His final argument rests on the idea of the rights view. Reagan describes the rights view as that one that disallows for moral tolerability to discrimination. Also, he elaborates that the principle disallows justifying and good results through the use of evil means. So if killing somebody would bring you good results, it wouldn't be justifiably okay because it's giving you good results and not the other, which is morally unacceptable, is what Reagan's trying to convey here. He argues the rights view with the concept of inherent value. With this view, inherent value does not change based off one's ability, which allows for the same justification to be made with animals. Just because they can't do all that humans can, it doesn't make their inherent value any less. Reagan does an excellent job portraying the different philosophical viewpoints of the three mentioned: contractarianism, utilitarianism, and the rights view. Contractarianism elaborates how animals cannot abide to the set of rules that are in place for humans. Utilitarianism showed how the best option may not always be the morally right one, which allows for the argument that killing animals for their resources can be justified but still leads to be immoral, and Reagan also persuades that we should have more sympathy than just seeing them as a resource, and that argument for utilitarianism. His argument with the rights view argues that no action can be justifiably good with the use of evil means, dissuading his audience to do evil to animals. Reagan's focus on the issues can be converted to other right scenarios, such as the fight for the LGBTQ rights. We can use Reagan's descriptions of these philosophical theories and apply them to other situations to help us find the moral good in each scenario. Thank you.